Grace means nothing to a whole lot of people. If you're too full of yourself, only if you're too full of yourself, you can be unconscious of grace.
To become open is the most important thing. Doing is a limited possibility, and doing is a very laborious process. So both are needed. If both have entered your life at the same time, you must consider yourself to be an extremely fortunate human being, whether you understand the fortune or not, because there are people who for lifetimes are just doing without grace being available to them. So grace is not about fulfilling your plan, grace is about fulfilling life's plan for you. This is something that people have been struggling with for ages, because these are two different types. These are two different dimensions of one's existence. These two dimensions are about doing something, making something happen, and allowing something to happen to you. These are two different aspects. So now the question is, which is more, which is less? Can I do it all? Or there's nothing I can do, I have to just allow it? If you are capable of just allowing it, that would be very good for you. But if you are the kind who just allows things to happen to you, do not expect people around you to understand anything about you, because they will not understand. People around you cannot understand what it means to allow. Doing is something that they understand, but doing is a limited possibility, and doing is a very laborious process. It's like, if I want to bake bread, how much of it do you do? How much of it do you allow? There is an equal proportion of both. If you do not knead it hard enough, if you do not work to load the oven properly, if you do not set the right temperatures, which is all you're doing, it's not going to happen. But if you're not willing to allow, that you're willing to close it and simply sit there like a pregnant woman. Yes, baking, if you do not know how to bake bread, it is all as complicated as bearing a child. Yes. You have to sit there and wait. If you're too much of a doer, you want to open every few moments and look at it, you will not have bread, you will have something else. This goes for baking bread, growing a plant, bringing up a child, or bringing yourself up, which is, you're realizing is the hardest task. That if you want to bring yourself up, there's a certain amount of striving and doing on your part to be done. But without allowing, it will be an extraordinarily difficult process and incomplete process for a very long time to come. So both are needed. If both have entered your life at the same time, you must consider yourself to be an extremely fortunate human being, whether you understand the fortune or not. Because there are people who for lifetimes are just doing without grace being available to them. There are people who are just waiting for grace to happen, not doing anything because they do not know what to do, doing their own little things without doing the right kind of thing to become open to the process. So these two kind of people exist everywhere in the world. Some are waiting for gods to do things for them. Some are trying to do everything by themselves. You are an extremely fortunate human being if action and receptivity both have come into your life at the same time. That you know how to perform action. Everything that you can do, you will do, but you have the sense and the gracefulness to sit and wait for that which you cannot do. So, it is that dimension, it is this combination of these two that we are effectively delivering through Isha Yoga. That people learn to do something about themselves, at the same time people learn the humility of waiting, the devotion. Devotion is needed, otherwise one cannot wait. If you do not look up to something, you cannot wait. So to be able to do everything that's needed, having the necessary tools and the empowerment to do things about your life, at the same time having the necessary sense and grace to wait and be able to receive, both these things need to happen. So if the question is pushed a little further, the question could be, can't I do it myself? Or the next question could be, will you write a self-help book, get yourself enlightened? This happened at a doctor's office. A woman came with her husband who was limping and in a bad shape. She brought him slowly, he was leaning heavily on her, she brought him slowly and made him sit down. The receptionist who was sitting there being sympathetic to the situation, said to the woman who brought this man, arthritis with complications? The woman said, no. Self-help with concrete blocks. So, self-help books sometimes have done things for people, good things for people. A lot of times they only injured themselves, broke things up, broke situations up in your life, because self-help is not always the right thing. But is it something that you don't do? No, you must do. So a combination of both is best. If you push one too far, you may lose your grounding. If you push your receptivity too far, not doing anything, you do not even know whether you're being receptive or just being lazy. If you try to do everything yourself, not allowing anything to be received, then it's like a plant which is trying to grow without sunlight. It will grow, but pale. It will not produce any flower or fruit. It'll be a long time before it can produce anything. So we need a combination of both. The kriyas, the practices are a phenomenal way to prepare the system to be open to new possibilities. If your energies do not open up to new possibilities, then you're talking about a long drawn-out journey. To become open is the most important thing. So just believing that I'm open and not doing anything about it is no good. There are lots of very open people, if you say one word, tomorrow they'll be gone. They believe they're very open. Even me, if I make as much as one comment about them, tomorrow they'll be gone. That open they are. So openness has to be tested with your commitment of time and effort. How open you are, you have to prove every day to yourself and to the existence. By every day putting in that much, I'm this open, I'm willing to give my this much of time and commitment, I'm that open. So your sadhana is a tool for opening you up and also a test for your openness, both ways. So these are inseparable, you cannot separate them. If you separate it, it is an unrealistic separation which does not work, largely does not work. There may be a devotee who does nothing, who just sits and receives it. But as I said, if you become all receptivity, it may be wonderful for you, but you won't know whether you're going forward or backward, that's one thing. Another thing is nobody would want to be around you, that's another thing. It's already so.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. I have a question about grace. I'm not sure exactly how to put it, but…
About what?
Grace.
Grace.
Yes. To me it seems to be a sort of an accidental thing, in a sense. It comes and goes according to… I don't know what really. I seem to lose it very easily once it's there. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about grace and how it works, or… like here in the ashram it's very easy to access or to feel it, but once you go outside it's quite difficult to be connected to that energy or the grace. If you could talk something about that. Thank you.
You're asking me to talk about the fragrance of this flower. How to do that? Only if you have a sensitive nose. Fantastic. Otherwise, somebody has got their nose stuffy today. Means nothing. So, grace means nothing to a whole lot of people. They don't even… it's not that you have to think about it or you have to talk about it. It is just that if you're too full of yourself, only if you're too full of yourself, you can be unconscious of grace. In the sense, you don't even have to go to school and know about planets and solar system and galaxies and stuff. Just as a human being, if you look up, you don't know where this begins, where this ends, in the middle of nowhere. Here you are sitting on a planet spinning and… see, you're fine. Definitely not your doing, isn't it? Definitely you can't do this. Whatever is holding all this up, one title for it, grace. Now, whether you're available to it or not is the question. When we say grace, we are not looking at a certain kind. We are looking at that which is the basis of everything. Because you do not know how this solar system is held in place. You do not know how the whole universe is held in place. You do not even know how you happened, really. How so many cells are staying together and make your life happen, you don't really know. You have explanations and explanations, but you don't know. If you knew, you would create one right now. If you knew exactly how, we would make it, isn't it? So, when there is so much that you do not know and everything is still happening great, obviously, it's not an accident. So whatever is making all this happen, that energy, that force, we call it grace. But now the question is about making yourself available. If you have a stuffy nose, the flower means nothing to you. If you're blind, light means nothing to you. If you're insensitive, nothing means anything to you. So, it is a question of becoming sensitive. Most people are ego-sensitive. They're not life-sensitive. Right now, you have to be cautious about what to say and what not to say to a whole lot of people because they're horribly ego-sensitive. For everything, they will crash within themselves. First of all, you create one illusion. Then you create another illusion of it falling and rising. It's a very bad game. You must be disillusioned soon. If you're truly disillusioned, absolutely, you will always be available to grace. If you have no illusions of your own, you will wonder about everything. How can you not wonder? About everything, about your very existence. If you have no conclusions in your mind about anything, simply here, you will be soaked in grace. Even now you are, but you cannot enjoy it unless you're conscious, that's all. It will not work for you because you are not conscious. It is working for you, but still you cannot fully benefit from that. See, it is a fact, a medically established fact. If two people eat the same food, both of them will not get the same nourishment. Exactly same food, two people eat, they will not get the same level of nourishment because it depends on your ability to draw sustenance from that. So to develop this capability, all of us are in grace, but to develop the capability to draw sustenance from that, so that this life becomes an expression of that grace. See, if you have smelled this flower, this is typical to southern India. Phenomenally fragrant. You think our garden department is pouring fragrance at the roots? No, they're putting filth, believe me. Yes. Even if you put filth, see how fantastic it became, because that's its nature. Because it does that, we are planting that tree, nurturing it, taking care of it, everybody's concerned how it is growing. Suppose it was giving out a smell that was unpleasant to you. Suppose it just took the filth and threw out the filth through the flower. No, we would have taken it out, isn't it? So grace brings many benefits. Once you're exuding grace, everybody wants to nurture it, everybody wants to promote it, everybody wants to be a part of it. because you're exuding grace. Now, the question is not at all about whether you're in grace or not. You are, otherwise you cannot exist. The question is only about, are you exuding grace or are you transforming this into something nasty and letting it out on everybody? Let me tell you a very well-known story in India. It's a folklore. Just about everybody in the country should know this story probably. There was a sage living in the jungle, blind of vision. He has no vision, simply sitting in one place. Rarely people pass this way. When they pass this way, they give him something and he lives by that. No vision. One day it so happened, the king and his retinue of soldiers and ministers, whatever, they all went out hunting. In the hunt, in chasing a deer, a spotted deer, they lost their way and the king got lost, separated from the group because the king has the fastest horse. The best one he rides. So, he went away ahead of them and got lost. They were all searching, they all got lost. And then the soldier came and asked the sage, "Did you see the king?" He said, "No." Then a commander came and asked, "Did you see?" He said, "No." Then the minister came and asked, "Did you see?" "No." Then the king himself came there. Then the blind sage immediately recognized he is the king. "Oh, your people have been looking for you. First your soldier came, then your commander came, then your minister came." The king observed and saw that the person was blind. And then he asked, "Oh divine being, how do you know that first it was the soldier, then the commander, then the minister?" The sage said, "Well, the first one who came said, 'Hey, blind one, did you see our king coming here? Did anybody come this way?' So I knew he must be your soldier. The second one spoke with authority but without respect. I knew he must be one of your officers. The third one, the minister came, he spoke with great respect. So I thought he must be your minister. Now you came, now you touch my feet and refer to me as the divine one, you must be the king. Whether you eat food or breathe or drink water, anything, it is grace. Otherwise, how? 2 parts of hydrogen and 1 part of oxygen becomes life-making water. This is grace. Okay, you can give it an explanation, but you don't know why this should happen, isn't it? All that is happening is grace. Now you drink this, or you eat this, or you breathe this. Will you also exude grace because you consumed grace? You must also conceive grace and exude grace, isn't it? But unfortunately, people take in fantastic things into themselves, turn it into nasty nonsense and lets it out. But look at the tree, you give it filth, it gives out fragrance. It's time. If you learn the way of the tree, if you learn the way of the rock, you will exude grace. So the question is not whether you are in grace or not. Definitely every creature is in grace. Are you capable of exuding the grace that you consume? That's the question.
Have you noticed many times, if you're in a hotel lobby, there is a background music going on and after some time you do not know that there is music going on, unless you want to make a conversation and you find it interferes with it or something like that, otherwise it's on all the time and you do not notice it. Being in America, some machine is buzzing all the time in your house, but you do not know that it's buzzing. Only when you enter the house, you will know it. After some time, you do not know it. So almost anything which is there with you all the time, you tend to not know it. That's the only reason why you do not know the hand of the divine upon you. Because it's always on. If it was off and on, if you do not even know that your breath is on, if it goes off for a minute, for sure you know. So because it's not at all off, that's the reason why you do not know. But what is the problem if something is on all the time? What is the problem not knowing? Not knowing that you're alive, what is the problem? You'll just miss life, that's all. The joy of being in grace will be lost. Still life will be happening, but the joy of being in grace is completely lost upon you. So it is not something that's on and off. It is not something that every weekend you question whether it is on or off. It's just on. You just have to, become conscious of it so that you know the joy of being in grace. I have said this in many ways, but people, I'm sure most of you have chosen to ignore it. I've said, once you sit with me even for a moment, then there is no such thing as privacy in your life. So the moment you sat with me, particularly initiated by me, after that there's no such thing as whether it is on or not, it is on all the time. It is just that you are expecting grace just to fulfill your plans. Most people are only expecting grace to fulfill their plans because this is an old habit of going to the temple, church or mosque and telling God what He must do. If He does not do, you will change your God. So this is an old habit. So grace is not about fulfilling your plan. Grace is about fulfilling life's plan for you. This is not about fulfilling your petty plan because every day your plans keep changing. At different stages in your life, many times you thought this is it and next moment you change your decision. So, grace, a guru's grace is not designed to fulfill your plans. Guru's grace is designed to fulfill the life's plan. You as a piece of life, to fulfill its plan, to make life arrive at its fulfillment, not to fulfill your immediate plan. You want to go on a vacation, go, Sadhguru, why are you not helping me? This is not about that. So don't every other day keep on questioning, is it there with me, is it not there with me? I won't be wasting my life with you if I could not sustain the support and make it happen.